everyone, it's nice to be here with you again. Now we're gonna start with our unit 11, ethics. So before start, we have to know that what are ethics? Ethics are the rules that help us to decide what is right and what is wrong. And we can learn this ethics from our family, religious and culture. And before start our main listening part, let's look at this vocabulary part. Build your vocabulary. Are you ready? Now we have to match this bold-faced words with these definitions. One by one we will do it all together. Let's look at the first one. It is important to think about how your actions affect other people. When you do something, consider the overall effect. Will it help or hurt them? So, what do you think? Which one is it? You have to match and find the best definition of this bold-faced word, actions. A, B, C. Yes, C. So, second one, people can't smoke cigarettes in our office building. So, the company allows employees to go outside to smoke. So, allows, what do you think? Now we have two options, A and B. Yes, exactly, it's a B. And the last one, A. Banned. My city banned cell phone use while driving. Okay, now look at the 4. It's a community, bold-faced word. Let's read the sentence. Government leaders should make decisions that are good for the whole community, not just some of the people. And D, E, F. Which one? What do you think? Exactly, it should be F. It's a group of people who live in the same area. And a 5. We need to make our own individual decisions, not copy what everyone else does. For example, some people refuse to pay taxes. Individual decisions. So it should be exactly D, as a single person, separate from the society one lives in. And the last one is E, majority. And 7, our bold-faced word is freedom. It is important to have freedom to choose your religion. It is unethical for someone to tell you which religion to choose. So, freedom, it should be exactly G, the ability to do what you want without being controlled by others. And the next one is a greatest good, our bold-faced word. And the sentence, government should spend money where it will do the greatest good and help the most people. And we have two options, H and I. What do you think? The greatest, great, it comes like great. It helps you the most positive effect. And the last one is I. Our bold-faced is a principle and a belief about what is right or wrong that affects how you behave. Let's look at these ed endings, guys. It's really important in our spoken English, these ed endings of past tense verbs. We can pronounce this ed ending in 3 ways: d, t, and it. The pronunciation of ed changes depending on the last sound of the verb. And let's look at this one by one of these ways. First is when the last sound before ed is voiced. Don't forget, it's voiced. And the ed sounds is as d sounds. And the second way is when the last sound before ed is voiceless. And the ed is pronounced as t. So, and this last way is when the last sound before ed is t or d. The ed sounds is it. And let's look at the examples. And before start our examples, what are the voiced and unvoiced sounds? Let's look at these sounds. As you see, we have here 14 voiced and 9 voiceless sounds. When you are pronouncing these voiced sounds, your vocal tract vibrates. You can feel it. But voiceless sounds, you cannot feel it. There is no any vibration. There are no vibration. So let's read one by one. For example, bat, pat, dot, tall, gap, cup, wine, fine, this, scene, zoo, soul, gym, shore, male, hot, nail, chip, and the rest of the one, nail, sing, let, root, wet, yard. Now practice. Let's look at these examples. As you see, we have three sounds: t, d, it. And how can you pronounce this word? At first, let's listen the pronunciation of this word.
Worked.
Worked. Yes. T, worked. Because we have here k is a voiceless. Now look at this d sound.
Loved.
Loved. And the love, it's a voiced v. So we pronounce d as d, this ed ending. And the last one?
Wanted.
Wanted. Wanted. And we have a t here, is a voiceless sound. Now it's turn for practice. It's your turn. Now you have, as you see, we have one bold-faced word in each sentence. And you have to tick. This bold-faced word is related to the d, t, or ed. Which one is it? You have to just tick it while you are listening. You're going to listen only once, guys. So listen carefully.
1. Shackleton and his crew realized they'd have to wait 10 months until November.
2.
So, there they lived, on the ship, stuck in the ice and waiting for spring.
3.
Over the long winter, as the ship floated with the ice began to crush the ship.
4.
He promised his men that if they worked hard and stayed together, they would get home.
5.
Because of the way he treated the men, treating each man with respect, the crew became extremely loyal.
6.
If Shackleton believed they would get home, well, the men believed it too.
7.
He decided to take one of their small boats and sail back to a whaling station on South Georgia.
Okay, I think you get your answers. So let's check. First one, realized. D sounds, yeah, because we have a z, voice it. Lived. D, again we have here v, like loved is the same. And the third one is floated. It, yes, exactly, because we have here t sound at the end of the verb. And the next one, worked. Yes, t. We have a k sound at the end of this verb and it's a voiceless. And the next one, treated. Yeah, it's the same with 3. We have a here t sound at the end of this verb. And the next one is d sounds. Yes, believed. And the last one, decided. Ed sounds because we have a d sound at the end of this verb. So now it's time for the watch the lecture part, guys. Now it's close your books and you're gonna answer all of these statements. Look at this, we have a 10 statements, and while you are listening you have to get your answer. You're gonna listen only once, so take a paper or your notebooks, and at first you have to get the name of the first approach, and the second one, the idea of rights come from, where does it come? And the third one, the meaning of freedom of speech, what does that mean? And the fourth, second approach, the name of the second approach. And the 5, the time when the second approach was popular, when. And the 6, the ethical action of second approach. And the 7, the issue that was questioned in the late 19th. And the 8, smokers will say. What will they say? And the non-smokers will say. And the last one, you have to get the 2 greater goods of banning on smoking. Guys, what's a greater goods we get in our vocabulary part? is a positive effect. You have to get the two positive effects of banning on smoking.
Unit 11.
Okay, sorry guys, if you are ready, let's start listening.
Unit 11, page 106. Watch the lecture. Part B. Listen for main ideas.
Every day, we have to make decisions. We have to ask ourselves what's the right thing to do and what's the wrong thing to do. But how do we make these decisions? How do we know what's right and wrong? The study of ethics can give us some answers. Now, today, I'd like to talk about two different approaches, two different ways to make ethical decisions: the rights approach and the utilitarian approach. So, first, I'll explain each approach, and then we'll see how these work in real-world examples. First, let's talk about the rights approach. We use the idea of rights to talk about many ethical problems. This idea of rights comes originally from the philosophy of Immanuel Kant, a German philosopher in the 18th century. The principle says that each individual has the freedom to make choices, and that other people must respect those choices. Let's take the right to free speech as an example. Freedom of speech means two things. First, that I have the right to say whatever I want, and second, that other people must respect my right to speak. So, according to the rights approach, an ethical action must respect an individual's choices. The power of the individual to make his or her own decisions. To decide if an action is ethical using the rights approach, we must always ask, how does this action affect the individual's freedom to make choices? Now, let's look at another approach, the utilitarian approach. That's utilitarian. The utilitarian approach was made popular in the 19th century by British philosopher John Stuart Mill. In this approach, the most important thing is not individual rights. The most important thing is making the world a better place. So, here, an ethical action is one that creates the greatest amount of good. Let's take, for example, paying taxes. The government collects taxes from individual people. Now, most people don't like paying taxes because they have less money to spend on other things. However, taxes help the community as a whole, paying for things like hospitals, roads, schools, parks, things that benefit everyone. So, even though paying taxes is bad for some people individually, it's good for the majority, for most people in the community. So, to decide if an action is ethical following the utilitarian approach, we must ask, what action will cause the greatest good for the most people? Now, let's take a real-world example and look at how to make a decision using these two approaches. That is, the rights approach and the utilitarian approach. Let's look at the question of public smoking. Starting in the late 1990s, this became an issue in many places when smoking was banned in office buildings, schools, restaurants, and so on. The question is, how do we make a decision about whether to ban smoking or not? When you look at the problem from the rights approach, we have to ask, how does smoking in public affect individual rights? And we have to look at the rights of two groups of people, smokers and non-smokers. So, first, let's look at the rights of smokers. Smokers will say that they should be free to smoke wherever they want, and that other people should respect that right, even if they don't like it. But what about non-smokers? Non-smokers say that they should be free to breathe clean air, and that smokers should respect that right. Smokers shouldn't force people to breathe their cigarette smoke. This, however, shows us one of the problems of using the rights approach. Because when you have two groups, how do you decide whose rights are more important, smokers or non-smokers? For another point of view, let's take the utilitarian approach. Following that approach, we have to ask, what creates the greatest amount of good? Allowing smoking in public places or banning it? So, what's good about allowing smoking in public places? Well, smokers will be happy, but that's pretty much it. But it causes a lot of harm. So, overall, you can argue that the ethical choice is to impose a ban on smoking in public places because it creates the greater good. Public places will be healthier and will save money on health costs because fewer people will get sick. Through this example, we can see the differences between looking at an ethical problem from the rights approach and from the utilitarian approach. So, until next time, I'd like you to think of some other real-life examples and consider them in the context of the two ethical decision-making approaches we discussed today. That's all.
Okay, guys, I think you get your answers. Now let's look at the questions. As you see, we have 10 questions for each statement, and you have to answer for that questions. But I will not gonna give you time. I will show you the answers. The first question, what is the first approach? It should be the right approach. And the second one, where does the idea of rights come from? There is two options. You can write from the philosophy of Immanuel Kant or from a German philosopher. Both of them is possible. And the third one is, what does the freedom of speech mean? And again, we have two options here. It means that I have the right to say whatever I want. The second one, that other people must respect my right to speak. And the fourth, what is second approach? The utilitarian approach. Don't forget that the listener, the speaker, said one by one each letter, so you have to write this utilitarian correctly. And the five, when was the second approach made popular? In the 19th century. And the six, what is an ethical action of second approach? And the answer is one that creates the greatest amount of good. And the seven, what was the issue that was questioned in the late 19th? That was a question, how do we make a decision about whether to ban smoking or not? This was the issue that they were questioning. And the eight, what will smokers say from the first approach? They should be free to smoke wherever they want, and that other people should respect that right. And the nine, what will non-smokers say from the first approach? They should be free to breathe clean air, and that they should respect that right. And the last one, what are the two greater goods of banning on smoking? First one is the public places will be healthier, and the second one, we will save money on health costs. So, now open your books, guys, talk about the topic part. Unit 11, talk about the topic part. In this part, you're gonna watch, then you're gonna answer the questions. First part, as you see, we have four students, Michael, May, Yanni, and Jiang, and they will talk about the ethics, and they will say their opinions. And look at these two sentences. Who will say these two sentences? Who agree with these two sentences? You have to tick here. And then last one, next one is that what are the students doing in their discussion lecture? Are they clarifying the ideas, or are they giving relevant examples or defining terms? What are they doing? You have to choose two of them. And the next one, second part, B part, also you have to do the B part. Let's first watch the video.
You know, I'm still a little unclear on how the rights approach compares to the utilitarian approach.
Well, we're supposed to create our own example, so maybe that'll help.
Okay, well, I've got an example. If we think about using cell phones while driving. So from a rights approach, we would look at the rights of the person driving, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, personally, I believe I should have the right to talk on the phone while I'm in my car. Because it's my car and my phone.
So you're saying you're like the smoker having the right to smoke wherever?
Yeah, but there's a huge difference. I mean, talking on the phone doesn't really hurt anyone's health.
I disagree. Drivers using cell phones have something like 4 times more accidents.
Where did you hear that?
I don't know, some government study or something.
Okay, anyway, what about the utilitarian side?
Okay, well, lots of drivers pay more attention to their phone conversations than the road, which is dangerous, right?
Right. So society in general suffers.
Exactly.
Okay. Cell phone use should be prohibited while driving.
And study groups.
Sorry.
Okay, now let's look at this sentence. People should have the right to talk on a cell phone while driving. Who says this sentence? And who is agree? Yeah, it should be Young. And the second one, drivers using cell phones are dangerous. Who says this sentence and which students are agree? Who are agree with these ideas? Michael? May? Only Michael and May, what do you think? Yeah, all of them agree with these ideas. And the next one, what are they doing? What are these students are doing? Are they clarifying or giving relevant examples or defining? Exactly, they are clarifying the ideas and giving examples. And the next part, you have to fill these gaps by using these phrases, and you have to tick what does this sentence means. This is an expressing an opinion or offering a fact or example. You have to tick. First one, Jiang, what he says. Well, personally, I believe I should have the right to talk on the phone while I'm in my car. Yeah, personally, I believe, it says. So exactly, it should be expressing an opinion. And the second one, talking on the phone doesn't really hurt anyone's health. Which one, what do you think? Exactly, I mean, because it's starting the point and it helps you, I mean. So what do you think? Which one is offering or expressing? Again, he says, I mean. It's the same kind of I believe. So expressing an opinion. And the third one, drivers using cell phones have what? Something like or well. What is? Something like, yes. Something like 4 times more accidents. Is it an expressing an opinion? No. It's an offering a fact or example. And the last one is, okay, well, lots of drivers pay more attention to their phone conversation than the road, which is dangerous, right? And again, it's an offering a fact. So guys, for today is over. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next lesson. Bye bye. Take care.